So, a new episode of the Wine Cowboys. Good to have you back, Tom.
Good to be here, Marcel.
In our little atelier, and we got some tools ready to drink.
Very simple tools.
So,
but
topic
effective.
of tonight will disguise a bit, and we'll talk about the wine country, which has 53 million liters of production,
Wow.
which has 850,000 hectares of vines planted.
Boy, oh boy.
And my lovely reference book from Jancis Robinson talking about grape varieties, I think she came up to 378 for this country.
Okay.
So which country are we talking about? You think?
Well, you gave me three statistics, and the first two I would have no idea. I could have said, it could be Botswana for all I know. However, the third statistic is it's over 300 different grape varieties that are commonly used.
Yes.
I think you're speaking about Italy.
It is Italy.
All right.
And I think Italy is a smashing wine country.
Yeah. Oh.
So I brought a couple of bottles. You brought a couple of bottles. So this is just to show one of the 1 meter or 80 centimeters of grape varieties. Let's say
Great.
planted. So what I think is fascinating about Italy, they kept a lot of local varietals.
Yes.
You know, they didn't change everything into Cabernet Sauvignon and Chardonnay.
Great.
So every area in Italy has its own production.
Yeah.
They were one of the first countries to really organize the wine laws with the DOC and the DOCG, which we won't go into here, but
Right.
it's very organized.
Right.
They had a couple of scandals too.
Yeah.
Quality levels too.
Yeah.
And determining, let's say a bit, in this area we make wine out of these 10 grapes, and you have to do it a bit in this way to
Yeah.
preserve the style.
Yeah.
I think that's the way to describe. So let's walk through a little display here.
Okay.
So domain Il Palagio, which is Sting's domain in Tuscany.
Sting, the musician.
Yes,
Elise.
we were there.
Awesome music.
So this is called Message in a Bottle.
You were there.
And yeah,
Well,
we
that's
visited
quite a
it.
message you got, and it's in a
This is a
bottle.
message. You know
Yes.
my passion for music.
Indeed.
So I brought this with the white wines are smashing. We have another white wine here from Tuscany, from San Gimignano, from Elisabetta Fagioli. So this is wood matured and wood fermented Vernaccia grape.
Okay.
So like big Burgundy style hefty wine.
And San Gimignano, that's the Tuscan town with the big towers.
Yes,
that right?
there used to be more than 100. I think there are 21 left or so.
Oh, that's
So
quite a few.
interesting. And well, Tuscany is well known for a lot of historical facts, like
Right.
the Palio, the horse race in
That's
Siena.
right, in Siena. And these towers without skyscrapers, without elevators.
Oh yeah.
That would have been a little hard, but
True. So of course we're going to talk about Barolo from Piedmont, Nebbiolo grape, which
Yeah.
I love.
Mhm.
For me, it has leather tones and it's suede and cherry wood, and it's quite rustic, I would say.
Rustic would be the word. Tannic.
What do you think about Barbera from that area? I love Barbera.
I think Barbera now, Barbera 30, 40 years ago was sort of like the Van du Table, the table wine.
Yeah.
But now they're making some rockin' good Barberas.
Yeah.
So you have from Piemonte, the three classic, you have Barolo, Barbaresco, Barbera.
Yeah.
And I love it. It's sort of the taste of sort of biscuits and blueberries sometimes.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
Barbera is fantastic.
It's a little bit more round than Nebbiolo, perhaps.
Yes, it's definitely
Which can be quite
more
acidic and
approachable.
fresh.
Yes.
That's why the wine keeps so long, I think.
Yes.
Well, I was in Tuscany, so I have more Tuscan wine. This is from La Fornace, which is a Brunello di Montalcino.
Brunello di
Montalcino.
Montalcino.
So here we are at Sangiovese,
Yes.
which is the widest planted grape variety in Italy.
Yes.
But also in style, I have to say, because you can get light and fruity ones from northern Friuli or so.
Okay.
And you can get Tuscan wines which can really stand the age of time.
And the Brunello di Montalcino, sometimes confusing, as everyone knows, because the word Montalcino, you have Montalcino d'Abruzzo, and so sometimes it's confusing.
Yeah,
but this is 100%,
grape variety in towns.
This is 100% Sangiovese, whereas Chianti can be sort of a blend
Yes.
of predominantly Sangiovese, but with some other grapes. Beautiful. Okay.
So my favorite area is around Verona, the city of opera.
Well, let me show you something.
We visited some operas there.
Oh, you
Even
did?
with the kids, we sat on the stone steps in the arena and I think we saw two operas there.
Very stylish. So I did bring my own corkscrew because I had difficulties last time.
Okay.
And this is from Caperso Winery
Oh,
outside of Verona.
Oh, no.
And they make Amarone.
So here we have Rondinella and Corvina. I think Corvina in this wine is made out of the sweet grapes. You
Okay.
know, it's 100%. So it's Recioto di Amarone.
Great.
Recioto di Valpolicella di Amarone. I think.
Okay.
That's the official name. This is from my good Dutch friend Kees, who was importer in Holland for Italian wines, and he showed me Ciliegio for the first time. It's a bit,
Ciliegio.
it's more a bit Pinot Noir like a grape variety from Le Marche.
Okay.
So on the east side of Italy.
I do not know this, but
And you brought also a nice Barolo.
I brought a Barolo also.
Which I think we can uncork and then talk more.
We're going to uncork that. We're going to uncork that bad boy. The thing about Barolo is made from the Nebbiolo grape, and it has to be aged for, I think, 38 months,
Yes.
of which 10 months are in wood, either oak or chestnut.
Yep.
And then, and if you want the Reserva, it's going to be 62 months, so an additional 2 years.
Yeah, yeah.
So one of the reasons they do this is because the Nebbiolo grape has some. I mean, it's thick-skinned, early ripening, early blooming, late late ripening.
Yeah.
It's very tannic.
Okay.
It can be. So I think they age it to mellow it out, but we'll still try it out.
And it needs a bit of air. Like
Indeed
in some
it is.
cookery books, you know, you make a dish, Tuscan of a Piedmont dish, and they say open up the bottle a day in advance. I always laughed about that. But I think in general, I have to say, as a experienced sommelier,
Yes.
these wines are better the next day when you open the bottle.
Yeah,
They really need air. They really need to breathe and to get all, the genie out of the bottle. Let's say.
Oh,
That's a
Genie,
perfect
come to us. That is true. And usually when you're making a recipe from a Barolo producer, for example, you're making beef with wine.
Yeah.
They recommend, and it's a big portion, they recommend 3 bottles.
Yeah.
2 bottles there and 1 bottle of drink. Okay. So here we're going to go.
That's
This
it.
Barolo, this is from Johnny Gagliardo, 2020.
Gagliardo.
It's from
Okay.
Gagliardo. It's from the Monforte d'Alba.
Okay, Monforte, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as you know, it's Barolo, so it's been aged for. Look at that color.
Yeah.
That is a classic characteristic of Nebbiolo, is it not?
It's clear.
Very, very light
Light
cherry
color,
color.
yes.
It's misleading because it looks like a Pinot Noir, even lighter.
Yeah.
And so you think it's going to be soft and elegant and suave, but actually it can be quite tannic and hefty. Powerhouse. That is it.
Good. Well, cheers. Good to have you back. Good to
Good to
talk
be
about
here.
Italian wines. So what's fascinating about Italy is wine and food. Food, of course, you know.
Food.
Like in every area they have their typical pasta sorts, you know.
Yes.
Don't expect linguine in the south of Italy because it's from the northern part, you know, and they have their sauces with their pastas. And the wine too. So they're very proud of what they make. They drink local and eat local,
Yes.
which I think is a good idea.
Hugely. Even in Piemonte, you're going to have Piemonte is made up of the Ruero, Langhe, and Monferrato.
Yeah.
Each one of those, they're going to be fiercely possessive of their own cuisine.
Yeah. And they're right too. You know, they're proud people.
Yeah, but also, I think Catherine the Great? I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
She came to France from Piemonte, and she brought her recipe book and all of her cooks and servants. And the rumor is that helped diversify and enhance French cuisine. We're not going to go into that. Can be sort of contentious story. Cheers.
Saluti a tutti.
Oh,
Yeah, health for everyone.
yes.
Wow, this is like big stuff. It's a mouthful.
We're adults. We can do this.
I know.
I was thinking
It
today,
is very smooth in a way.
Actually, the thing about Nebbiolo, the thing about Barolo, 25, 30 years ago, if you drank Barolo, you would think this needs another 10, 15 years of aging. And then these young winemakers came in and they were like, they're using the technology, they're using different techniques, they're using different oak, they're using different thermal regulation, and they've made Barolo that is approachable almost immediately after it is actually released. And whereas before it'd be like, oh, you got to stick this in cellar for 15 years. But in the last 20, 25 years, now it's a lot. I mean, this is quite smooth.
It is, but it's very complex. You hardly see wines from one grape variety which are complex. Burgundy is a good example. That you can get complex wines out of Pinot Noir, definitely, especially there.
That's a good point.
But for the rest, I think blends are very interesting, like we see here in Languedoc, why you see in Tuscany.
Right.
I think blending wine gives an extra dimension to wine.
Ah, that's very interesting. That's right. That's right. A lot of varietals will not have that complexity.
Yeah, or more straightforward. You see what you get wine in a way.
Coherence rather than complexity. That sounds good.
And I learned that they still use a lot of old methods making wine. Drying grapes, like they do in Valpolicella, in crates. They put it in the sheds, in the barns. Open up the doors. So they're harvested in, let's say, September or October.
Okay.
They leave them to dry until November, so they shrink and all the water evaporates. That's how Recioto is made, from 100% dried grapes. Corvina and Rondinella. And to press a grape juice out of those raisins, gives a completely different aroma than from fresh grapes. Where there's a lot of juice, a lot of liquid.
That's interesting, because remember last time we met, we talked about sweet wines and the pasito method. So it sounds like they're using sort of the pasito method of drying the grapes in the open air. Oh, this is good. I have to say, it's not bad.
So many people know I'm not a cheese eater.
Oh, I don't.
I don't really like cheese.
You're maybe lactose intolerant.
But when I taste this, some Parmesan shavings, we got a good friend here in the village who frequently goes to Italy. So he says, Marcel, do you need another kilo of Parmesan? Thank you, Paul. That always works. And I think cheeses like that, with wine like this, is fantastic because it absorbs the tannins. It releases the salty, flaky, crusty.
It's a good thing I ate before I came here. Otherwise I'd be inclined to.
I'm crazy about wine and food, as you know. So I always think of food when I drink a wine.
Well, you are the sommelier, and your wife is
what can
the
you
chef.
pair with this? And
oh my goodness! And we always talk about the good flavors that come out of here, L'Atelier in Côme. Amazing! One of the top 3 restaurants in the whole region. I told our friends today that I met them for lunch, and I told them the 3 restaurants, and there's no doubt that this is.
Well, we are blessed with a lot of good restaurants in the village and around the village. So,
very true.
7 days a week you can find something or someone and some place to eat out. So the fascination for wine and food in this, an Italian person would never drink wine without food. It's not like a bar where you have a glass of wine.
That's right.
They always drink wine at the dinner or lunch table and not.
And the wine is made actually to go with food.
Yes,
Someone once said to me, they said, in Italy, food is not wine, but wine is food. Maybe I got that the wrong way around. A couple more glasses of this and it'll all be clear. There you go. Have another glass of this.
So wine is made for drinking. I definitely
and for cooking.
Cannot stop saying that.
And
And no, but a lot of people say, Marcel, do I need to store this wine? Well, you can sometimes, but you don't need to.
Exactly.
Like you say, these wines, even at a younger age, they're still very approachable.
Yeah.
Give them some air. Use a decanter. Open it up in advance.
I think it's a great idea.
And you get a joy out of a bottle like this, I would say.
So speaking of Italy, some other grapes that are interesting. I went to Sicily a couple of years ago, and the classics are Nero d'Avola and around Etna, Nerello Mascalese.
Yeah.
But they've got Frappato and Pericone.
Oh yeah.
And I never really heard about these before. But Pericone, I think, was very tannic, and until recent decades, they didn't have the cellar methods to be able to tame those tannins.
Okay.
And so now it's quite predominant on the island. But everywhere you go, in 20 regions of Italy, as you'd mentioned, everywhere you go, they've all have their own different wines, and you'll always run into grapes you have never heard of before. For example, some of the ones you'd mentioned tonight, I have no idea. What is this one? This
Ciliegio.
Ciliegio. Oh my goodness.
It's good for a pub night, a pub quiz, you know.
Okay.
Let's do a wine bar quiz one day. Is that a good idea?
I have. You know, it's Trivial Pursuit.
All right.
I have Trivial Pursuit
yes,
in French, specifically for wine. No, I found it online.
Let's do that.
Let's do that.
That's a good idea.
I think that's a great idea.
So Italy is one of my favorite countries to visit for traveling, for eating. You know, you can't go wrong there. You go into a village, you see bright lights and formica tables, and you think it's not going to be good, but it's mama cooking. And for a couple of euros, you have a plate of food, which is incredible.
Incredible.
And the local wines,
places,
always good.
Oh, and the pride. And you know, the mama is putting in so much effort to make these little pastas. And then they sell it for nothing, and it's beautiful. It's amazing.
And if you look at the map of Italy, there's vineyards everywhere. There's not an area in Italy where there's no wine production. So you see that the Romans there, they really
understood civilization. When they had the baths,
they were
hot water baths,
ahead
and
of
wine.
us, I would say.
I think so.
Nowadays, they're ahead of us, you can say. Cool. Well, we're gonna continue with nice videos like this. Talk about wine.
It's great.
Some people post some subjects they want to talk about.
Really?
They want us to talk about, so we'll have a chat about that.
We'll do that.
And let's enjoy the good life, good wines, good company.
Fantastic.
And not
good to
too
be
long.
here.
Yes. Saluti.
Salute.